4. And I had to scroll like 20, 30 lines down because all y'all have been in there making a bunch of them. So that was great. I wasn't even on the first page of my name anywhere on there. So good job, everyone.
They were trying to get high score and just eat you off the list.
That's what we should do. It should be like we should have daily prizes for who's got the most on there for the day or something.
That might work,
Yeah. All right. I was thinking about kind of where we're at with this, and just kind of through my perspective of kind of the different scenarios that we've walked through. Definitely want some feedback from you guys as you're testing. I'm trying to go through your issues list and comment and resolve what I can. I've been monitoring that for excuse me, a couple of weeks, and working with our development team to get those issues resolved. I think we've got all of them. As far as the development and improvements go, everything should be done except for the service items, which they're still working on adding that second section for the service items that will be part of that customer job. But other than that, we should have most everything resolved. So I'm curious, obviously, let's see, we got half a dozen people that have been in testing. I'm open to just kind of talking through if there's any feedback or questions to start, and then if we want to have people kind of walk through examples.
Question for you: when you say we're through everything but the service items, because on the issue log that we have in Smartsheet, there's still like 67 open items.
Yes, and when I say through, I mean I've read through all of them and looked for like systematic issues that we need to resolve by having our developers do it, whether it's a bug or an issue or something like that. So I have them working on it. What I still need to do is respond, give an update, and explain what is happening in them. So definitely that part is still need to be done. Yeah. So as far as, the development and tweaks and changes or improvements to the system, I've tried to capture all of those in. I'm sure there's more, and we'll find more because this is a new process that we're building out. But that's kind of what I'm focusing on, is trying to get those to our development team as quickly as possible. And yes, I will continue working on updates into that sheet as I work my way through it. Anyone else with questions or issues that you've seen? Anything you want to walk through? If there is an issue in the issues log that you want to talk about, we can do that.
I'm not seeing the distribution part on the item job card where there's multiple addresses. I'm not seeing that.
Couldn't hear the last half of that.
You guys have to really yell if you're in that room. The speakers or the mic is bad.
So on the item job card, if I have multiple addresses for distribution, I'm not seeing that pull through. Like it used to make 2 SOs, right? But I only saw 1, so I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong or it's.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look at it. Do you have a job card in that you were looking at?
Should I do a new one or keep them?
Sure. If you want to, and do you want to share, or do you have your computer there? It's hard to see a little bit back there.
I guess I'll just do a brand new one.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll just do, I have an item ready to create, so. Just because I was prepared to drive, I'm just gonna do it from the top. That's okay.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna create a new item.
Real quick, you chose non-inventory on that. Was that on purpose?
Yes,
So,
it's a drop ship item.
okay, so we'll still do inventory for drop ships. So a non-inventory item is an item where we never bring it in or manage it in any way for shipments, excuse me, shipments, inventory, etc. So what was the example we had of that? Like a digital gift card was the one we were talking about earlier as an example of a non-inventory item. So 90%, 95% of your items probably should be inventory items.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. You just need that inventory posting group. So hit your pencil to edit it again. There we go. It'll just be resale. And I didn't see, did you assign a category to that item?
Yeah.
It was promo hard goods.
Perfect.
Wait, sorry, that's not. I noticed this doesn't say saved right away.
Yeah, if you click the next line, it'll save it, or if you click out, it will.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
It
pretty
will
much
save
saves it, right?
Except not for some reason. It takes a while.
It's a little slow. The dev instance will be slower than the live instance, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it will be much. Plus, we're gonna kick out all the smart source data because we don't need it right now, and so it'll be much faster once we get rid of all their data.
But when you add it back, it'll be much slower again.
By then, we should be on a larger scale instance that should help with that a little bit. But yeah, it will add a little bit back.
So I also noticed that the incorrect salesperson is pulling through, and then it doesn't, like, after I change it, it also pulls the incorrect one to the sales code.
Yeah, so we are missing that data right now of customer by salesperson. So when you change it in the customer item job card, we also have to change it on the customer card. So if you would have gone to that customer and changed it there, then when you created this job card, it would have been correct. So the master record in this case is that customer card.
But that will all be updated pre-go live, guys. So for now, like the only thing we really need to see is if there's a code in there and it's pulling through to the other documents. for like the testing scenarios.
Oh. Well, is that not? Comments? Okay.
You know how it's auto selecting that second line there? Go ahead and unselect that check mark. That's a bug that we're working on fixing. I would anticipate having that by end of day, but if not, tomorrow we'll have that resolved.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I had a pop-up earlier. So I'll give you guys a-
The idea behind it was that if you only choose one vendor, that it auto selects it. But the problem is the way the code is, it's throwing things off. So we're taking that off. And what it means is you'll have to select it even if you only choose one vendor. You'll have to hit the check mark.
Okay. So the shipping is not, the split ship is not going to show up here.
Correct. So this is a drop ship.
Yeah.
So we don't want to create, I mean, you can create a purchase quote to get a quote for the, to know what your quote is from your vendor, right? So you can determine which vendor is going to be supplying it. But we don't want to create the PO from this because it will not pull those addresses. We need it to be on the sales order. When we release the sales order, it creates the PO automatically. That's what will pull in the dropship address from the sales order to the PO.
Okay.
So for the quote, if you need to type in an address or whatever, that's fine. Or you can just say, hey, vendor, well, I'll give you the address later. Just tell me what the actual product cost is and we'll deal with the freight later.
All right. So I'll just release that.
So with that being said, if it's a drop ship, don't hit make order, or it's going to try and deliver it to our virtual address, or it'll be the headquarters address in Georgia.
Correct.
I think we need to make it from the sales order so that we get those addresses. Okay, do you need a sales? Yeah, if you need a sales quote, then yeah, we can make it.
I guess I'm just 10.
Same thing goes there. In order to get this distribution address, you can't make the order from the sales quote. We're going to have to manually create the sales order, fill in the addresses, or I'll show you how to do it. We can make them in here too. But we can't make it from the sales quote.
But you have to put the unit price and the unit cost, and it's not pulling through from the quote right now.
So real quick on the, yeah, so that's your unit price, that's your sale price, right? Before you update that unit cost, go down to your supplier vendors. So yeah, just hit escape or click out of that cell. Oh, doesn't like a decimal. Excuse me. So one thing to note, you've got that error message up at the top. It won't let you do anything until you clear that error. Yeah, there you go. So uncheck that check mark and recheck it. And then scroll up and see if it updated that unit cost. Yeah. So again, that check mark, we've got a bug in there. This is the way to kind of force that to recalculate. Once we get that bug resolved, the unit cost will update from the purchase quote when you select the vendor.
Okay. So now I can make a sales quote, yeah?
Yeah, if you want to do a sales quote to get your customer approval, yep. Again, salesperson, it's just wrong on the customer because I've just filled in some data to get testing data. We'll work on cleaning that up and getting it accurate.
Okay. And at this point, I can add the setup, like item charge? Or do I need to do that from the sales order level?
Yeah, we'll have to do it from the sales order, and we can't create the sales order from the sales quote because we need the split address, right? So if you need to have that in the quote, then yeah, we add it to the quote. We'll also have to add it to the sales order. That's why we're putting in that the additional module of the service items that will solve this problem. So once you select those service items in your job card, when you create your sales quote, it will include all of them under the inventory items as well.
Because I don't fully understand that. So I see it. But...
Yeah.
Hey Matt, for the code, that was where you were talking about it should just be like ground, air, those kinds of things, right?
Yep. So, and this is something we want to talk through a little bit. The way we have, the reason there's 3 fields and it's kind of a pain is we have a shipping tool, which basically gives us the ability to specify an agent and an agent service, and then also to assign a customer shipping account that would be applied for this if we're shipping it on their account. So that's why we have that little add-in. When we do that, we don't need the code itself. The code can be blank. If you're going to say it's going UPS and ground, then don't worry about putting a value in the code because it's redundant. If you don't know the agent and the service and you just want to ship it the best way, or just say I just want to ship it ground or air, then you can set it in the code and you don't specify it in the agent and the agent service.
Okay.
So
So
we
in this
need
case-
to update those things that are in there right now.
Yes. Yeah, we want to clear those out. So in this scenario, if you say, I definitely want this to go UPS ground, then set UPS ground on the agent and the service. If you just want them to ship it the cheapest way, then choose best way and delete this agent and agent service.
Okay, Matt, so in the code on the back end, you want me to get rid of all of them except for best way and, well, just best way?
Yeah, do best way and ground.
And didn't we talk about putting vendor in there?
Oh, yeah,
So when they're
vendor's in.
shipping on
Yeah.
vendor accounts, not ours.
Okay, vendors in there, so I'll leave that.
Mhm.
Or you're in that table. Yeah.
Yeah,
So hang on a minute, guys. If we put best way as the default, that will break our integration if somebody doesn't opt in and change that.
Right. All,
So we
all of the
can't
three
have-
PLs can't handle that. They
Right,
just
because
don't
there's
do
no
that.
best way.
Yeah.
So what is the, and I know there's a conversation to be had about 3PL shipping information.
What's
So
the
Matt,
question, Matt?
we can discuss this separately, how we currently do it.
Yeah.
But I think we should have, yeah, I mean, those defaults need to be, like, I think FedEx and ground, but it
Yes,
depends on.
generally UPS ground historically has been our default in absence of anything else, but.
Yeah, so, and then we have contracts with certain facilities where they use, like certain warehouses use different carriers.
Mhm.
So let's talk about those defaults separately and kind of go through it. Steve, we'll set up a meeting with me, you and Steve, and probably Todd to go over
Yeah.
that.
That conversation came up earlier. So Kim, in this one, yeah, you're going to say UPS ground. You can leave code blank.
Okay.
While we're waiting on that, John DeVilla, do you know what the default for is for Excella? What is their carrier account that they use, that they have a contract with?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I can ask him though.
Man, I thought you knew everything. What the hell?
I utilize my resources.
Okay. Bye.
Wait. Don't click that. So if you're doing a split ship or a drop ship, we can't make the order from the quote because we need to use the individual addresses that you put in the customer item job card. Yep. So now set that to distribution. Now scroll down to your sales or to your distribution lines. Okay, now scroll all the way to the right, and this is where you'll say how many of each item. Yep, so those are your two splits, right? Now click Make Sales Order. Should be hidden behind those three dots there. Yeah. So now you've created your two sales orders. Again, it's not going to have the service items because we don't have that built yet, but it will. And now that should be set on the sales order to the correct shipping address. So let's check that. That's really our goal here, is to make sure it's working like we want it to.
Okay,
Okay, is that first one?
yeah.
Perfect. So if that looks good and the dates are all good, again, yep, we talked about putting shipment method on the CIJ, huh?
Yes. And we would also need. We talked about a field for account number when we are not shipping on the vendor's account. Because we have a combination of using our account number or client account numbers.
So
Some of our, Matt, while you're thinking, some of our customers, well, there's a lot of our customers that we ship third party, either UPS or FedEx for them using their account number. We
Yep.
do have a handful of accounts where it is based upon, like, air shipments go one third-party number, the ground shipments go another.
Yep.
And we have to be able to store that so that it's automatic.
Yeah, and that's why we have this add-in called dynamic ship, is to handle that. Here in a
Yeah.
second, I'll have scroll down and I'll show you where we can store that. The cool part about it is you can set it by customer, by carrier, and by service, which accounts apply.
You only put a cost
So
if
this is the sales order.
Yeah.
So-
Do I do a cost here
No.
for, okay,
That's the system drives that.
but I never entered that into,
is the client paying anything for the setup?
yeah,
So that cost is going to be on the PO, and we're going to create the PO as soon as we release this sales order.
But she's saying that the client is also paying for it.
For that item. The charge
What's
item.
that? For the setup charge.
Yeah, so that's what you've got here is you've got to align your charge in the client for the $50. So that'll work.
Are you paying for it, or do you want those addresses taken? Or does it matter?
What is the best? I mean, I don't know. I didn't think about charging just one location. Right? Because usually it's like just the sell to company pays for it, and then the split ship is separate. But here we have to think about which location gets charged the setup.
Well, they're going to the same billing address from
Yeah.
a payment standpoint. So from the client side, I mean, they're paying both invoices for the same AP. They just are getting two instead of one. So it wouldn't really matter which one you add it to.
So just pick one and add it to one. Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like the unit cost didn't pull through though.
So again, unit cost is system driven. This is a sales order. We're selling it to the client. So I would tell you to take that unit cost out of that screen because it's a system driven field that you don't have any ability to change or modify. And I know that's a little probably quite different than your current system where you're managing both sides of it. The system does all of the costing for us. Because again, I'm just charging the customer. In fact, they should never know what my cost is, right? All I care about is I'm billing them for this $305. Yeah, so Caitlin, let's talk through shipping accounts. So we have it on the printed version. You can see that it's blank in this case. If it is not a customer account and you want it on the CaseSmith/Smart Source account, you want that to show up there.
Yeah, so when we submit the PO to our vendor, it has to be
know.
on the purchase order for them to ship on our account.
Okay, and that was the sales order side, so that wouldn't matter as much, but okay, yeah.
It wouldn't matter as much, but I mean, we do verify to our client that we're shipping on their account as well in that scenario.
Right, in that case, yes. Kim, do you mind scrolling down in the sales order? Because I wanted to show what we're talking about on the shipping accounts. So down below, there's a dynamic shipment options. So dynamic ship is our little tool that we have. So if you expand that shipment options, so the top one on the. Okay, so this is kind of where you can manage your shipping. And then Oh, I was wrong. You were right. It's the package options.
Okay. I didn't know.
You got lucky then, but yeah, if you scroll just a little bit further down, there's going to be a alternate billing. So if you're billing third party, this is where you'd set it. You change it from payment type none to third party or receiver. And then you put in their account number. But that has to be set. So on the sales order, is this set to UPS ground? We changed that, right? Yeah. So then it would be whatever their UPS account number is.
Do we fill in anything else?
Yeah. So we will need, well, let me take that back. We will not need that because we're actually not going to do the shipping. The vendor's going to do the shipping and they're going to use that account number. So yeah, you can just put the account number in, then it will show up in the order.
3PLs have to know the zip code.
Okay. Which is why we have these fields so that we can pass it to 3PLs.
Right.
So if we set it up on the customer, it'll flow to every sales order for that customer automatically.
Okay.
And we have to update the shipping.
We also can set default agent and service on customers as well so that the sales orders come through automatically like that as well. And let me see where I can add our account number so that if there is no account number that we specify that.
So we have to go to each individual SO to update the ship method and the shipment date.
So we'll do the ship method on the CIJ. I'm working on adding that now so that you can set it for all sales orders.
Okay.
Shipment date. Yes, we will have to manually put that in. Let me think through how we can handle that best, because I saw your eye roll there, Caitlin, of the amount of work that would involve.
Yes. I mean, on some of these split ships, we have hundreds of them.
Okay. Well, you're lucky that I'm feeling nice because I can figure out a way to add that into the CIJ as well.
Awesome.
Is there a reason that when we create the SOs that it was automatically releasing?
It shouldn't have.
All of the practice ones I did yesterday and today, they were releasing, so any edits I do, I have to reopen.
Okay, let me take a look at that.
I noticed that early on. I hadn't noticed it lately. Maybe they changed the setting.
Yeah.
All right, give me a second. Add method, agent, service, shipment date. Real quick on the shipment date, request a shipment date for the PO. Oh yeah, the shipment date there. For the PO side, would we also, so if you say a shipment date of 9/25, do you want the PO to also show that as the expected receipt date?
Receipt date? No.
How would
Shipment date, yes.
So on the sales order, we want the shipment date, and the PO, we want the shipment date, both to be the same?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we need to find how to add freight account.
Then you said it's auto releasing that sales order, so it should not do that.
So from the SO, you have to release. For sure. Stuff. Back to the shop.
Yeah, and then you go to the POs. Why do you make two?
So it's supposed to make 2 POs as well for each quantity per location.
Yes, because they'll be shipping to individual addresses.
Okay.
So from a printout perspective to send to our vendors, I'm gonna go back to the scenario where we have 100 split ships. We're gonna be sending them 100 PDFs. And we want them to run the total quantity together.
As of right now, that's the way it's set up. We talked a long time ago about a consolidated PO
Yeah.
where basically it's the individual lines are consolidated with the volume, with the total volume of those. The issue is the address. How do we communicate that address if you've got 100 different shipping addresses? How do you currently manage that?
Most of our vendors require us to put that in an Excel template for them.
Yeah.
And we send it along with, currently it's one PO and it'll just say like split shipment, see attached Excel. I'm just thinking like from a vendor perspective, they're then rekeying all of these POs into their system. They're not going to do that for 100 POs.
Right. We definitely need a solution on that.
Steve, how does that work in your guys' system currently?
So normally what we do is we've done a couple, we do it a couple different ways. One of the things that we do is like you talked about, where we've got an order, there's a spreadsheet of all of the stuff, you know, where it's going to go, and that's what we're going to send to the vendor. So we're going to order 1,000 of something, and we need 100 to go to these 10 locations. Okay, so they do it off a spreadsheet. Then normally, because of the sales tax ramifications, then the order's got to be modified after to do that. Now, what we have done is because we are limited in our current ERP system that we can't do that many split ships. So what we end up doing is we end up doing what we call a distribution order, which is to basically create the 200 orders that it takes to, you know, for all of the different things. So we basically do a distribution where we create 200 orders so that the county can bill that through in an automated fashion is what we do. And so we take that off of the spreadsheet. So, you know, hey, for this customer, this item, this ship to code with the address, they got 5, this one got 8, whatever they did. That's how we handle it. We do these distribution orders.
So it's one order in the system with the separate kind of distribution list. And then on the vendor side, and then on the sales side, they're separate because you have to do for tax.
And where I come from, we had literally like the one line that would encompass everything. And then you could literally upload that Excel file and run it through a tax program that would spit out the allocated tax for each of them.
It'd be nice if BC does that.
It
Like,
was
as you know.
it was like the
Demandbridge
most
doesn't.
amazing thing that you would
Yeah.
literally just like upload it into the same like a little attachment and then press run and it would just do it for you.
Yeah, I know there is some ability with Avalara to do, I don't know all those details. That's something we can definitely look at for the Smart Source go live. For now, it'll just have to be the separate sales orders, which calculate each independently. We can consolidate those. That's one of the tasks we have as well, is to have a consolidated invoice. So it just sends them the one invoice with the 100 lines rather than 100 separate invoices. But I'm on the PO side is where I think there's really two ways to do it. If we want to do like the scenario we got right here, right? We got 2 POs going to 2 addresses. We can certainly manage it that way. The other option is we manually create that PO and then say this is a split shipment. See attached for delivery addresses, and we use the Excel file with the addresses and attach that to the PO to give to the vendor.
If we did the second way, couldn't we just start from a sales order?
I mean, you have to have the sales order to the PO, but yeah, you basically could. If you're just going to have the sales order and the PO be for 100 items, and you're not, well, no, you can't because of the sales tax. That's why we need it on the sales side. We need those split into the 100 separate orders so that we calculate each one accurately. But we can consolidate the PO. That's going to be a little bit of work on our side. I'm just thinking through the steps there.
And because setup fees and how much items cost come from, and artwork and all of that stuff needs to be all in one PO for vendor.
So if we do it as a split ship, we can use that drop ship location, but we can't link each sales order to the PO because it's a. Let me look at something real quick while you're doing that.
Also on the PO, there's only under invoice details, there are these ship method options, but no like UPS ground. And odd that it's here.
So on the PO side, you're telling your vendor how you want it to ship. And if you're shipping it on an account, then you need to provide that, huh? And they're not seeing the sales order. Which is why we have the field on the PO layout, but it's not pulling anywhere. So we just need a field for that. It's not going to the 3PL. That would be on the sales side, so we don't need it there. So we can just use a custom field with that number. That's basically all you need to provide your vendor, right? Is how you want it to ship and the account number.
Yeah, like the information on the SO, where we filled it out on the SO, we want that same information.
Yeah.
Hopefully pull through, so we don't have to re-enter it.
Yeah. So it's definitely custom that we're gonna have to do. All right, let me make a note before I forget how to send shipping account to vendor. Yes, let me work on that one as well. It's on my list.
So at this point, we submit the PO and then we release it.
Yep. So you can just put it into release and that will be ready to go for accounting when the invoice comes in.
Okay, so this is the handoff for accounting.
Yes. Yep.
Also, the charge item, we entered it on the SO and then for the price, and then we entered it again on the PO for the cost. I forget if you said you're building something to, yeah, the service.
Yeah, to fix that. Yeah,
The service
it'll come through.
items.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so you would set that on the CIJ and it'll pass the cost to the PO and the price to the SO.
Okay, awesome.
Matt, can you walk us through what the difference between a charge item is and an item and a service item?
Sure. So a service item is just a straight up charge that you are either paying for or that you're billing your customer. Website hosting, print proof, whatever. It's a one, not a one time, but it's a charge that a service that you're providing to your customer. And it is not necessarily tied to the inventory of the items. So you could just do an invoice with a service of your website hosting or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
An item charge most of the time is on inbound, so on the PO side. And it's where you want to take a cost that you're being charged and apply it to the cost of the inventory that you're also bringing in. Freight, duty, packaging, etc. You're getting charged $100 in freight. You want that to be split across the 200 items that you have. So 50 cents is going to go to each item as the cost of that coming into your facility or going to your customer. So an item charge is distributed across the inventory items that are on that order. A service item is just a straight up fee that is being charged.
So really charge items are for BAS is what I'm hearing. Because that's all part of bringing in the inventory that then in turn gets billed to the client at shipment.
Yep.
Okay. So the follow-up question, charge items in a BAS scenario could also be the things like setup fees would need to be cost allocated across the 200 quantity. So does that mean that all charge items are going to have to be set up in every item category?
No, so that's that second section where it'll be just the, oh, yeah, you're right. Hold on, let me think.
Hope she's not right.
It won't have to be set up in
Yeah.
every category. I'm just trying to think how to add it to the CIJ. Because it needs to apply to the inventory items. It's not just a service charge. So if we're doing the service items in there, just pulling up our development request. So is this a charge that's going to be passed on to your customer?
For BAS, no, it's not passed on as its own line item to the client.
Right. It's just rolled into the sale price.
Mm-hmm.
So we need it on the PO. We don't want it on the SO.
Yeah.
It's a cost of getting the BAS stuff into inventory, Caitlin.
Yeah.
So it's like a special charge or freight or whatever we're doing, right? Inbound.
Yep.
Yeah. So then this would then be item charges. We would have to add those to the PO. Because on the customer, we don't want them on the customer item job card because that's going to be what bills to the customer. That's very much customer related. It's more on the purchasing side. When we create that PO, they're going to bill us for whatever the service charge is. We'll put them in as a charge item on the PO when we place that PO. And it could be that we add it when you guys are doing the PO. It could be that when the PO comes in from the vendor, they go, oh yeah, we got to add this service charge in. At invoicing. Which again, could be you guys could be accounting whatever that looks like. We decide who does it, but it will not be part of the customer item job card because it's not being billed to the customer.
Normally that would be something that the CSR would
Is
add to
putting
the
on.
order because they're going to know about it up front,
Mm-hmm.
or they should
Yeah.
know about it.
So like,
And accounting's just pushing it through once we get the invoice for it.
yeah, so as soon as that PO gets created, just add that item charge in.
Okay.
Be the way to do that. And that's not, yeah, category specific. It's not anything on this because it's just on the inbound side.
I had another general question.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about scenarios, Matt, a while back where we will have items that are across multiple categories that are combined on the same order, typically because they have the same decoration method and artwork. So it's one PO to our vendor, but it might include hats and sweatshirts or maybe not hats, sweatshirts and t-shirts and
And a tote bag.
jackets and tote bags. Yes.
Yeah, where it's across different
Mm.
categories and customer item job cards. So I think the scenario with that, and I talked about it with our developers, it's going to be a little bit more of a manual process where we basically build that PO with what's on it and assign it coming from a specific customer item job card on the lines. When I was talking to him about it, I think we've got it all in place. Let me run this example of that and do an internal test on that, and then I'll pass it off to you for testing.
Okay.
I put that one on hold because I needed some of the improvements they were working on their side to get it done first. I believe we should have that one covered now, but I'll double check. Categories. One PO, same address, same decorator. Okay. I know we're right at almost at our hour. Any other questions for today? I want to try and keep us to an hour. Not
Matt, do you have time tomorrow to go over print?
sure.
Can I set an hour on your calendar for me, you, and Katie to get together?
Sure.
Okay.
You guys just make sure you record that one.
Yeah. I'm available at 9 a.m. Pacific or noon, 1 or 2 p.m.
Great, thank you. I'll send an invite.
Perfect.
Matt, do you have a couple minutes to stay on after this to talk about next week's plan with me?
Yes. Yes,
I just have one
can.
last question about charge items.
Mhm.
A while back, we were assigning charge items to items. Does that only apply to inventory? Because we didn't do it here.
Oh yeah, you would on the ones you just created where you added it to the PO.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would need to assign it. I mean, that's ultimately a business decision. It doesn't really matter to me who does it, just someone needs to do it before it gets invoiced. I think based on our accounting call earlier, it's probably going to be you guys.
What was the question? Sorry, I did not hear.
So if it's a charge item for dropship, do we also have to assign it to an item? Or is it only for inventory orders?
If it's a charge item, do you have to assign it to an item?
Or
Yep,
item
so
charge?
there. Yep.
Here.
Yeah, so if you just click on that, go up to that, I suggest. Yep, in this case, it's all one-to-one. Great, everything's good, and close. So it's just saying, how do you want to split the one charge? And you want to split it to just that one item. Now, if there's 14 items in this order, then yeah, you would have to split it by quantity or value or whatever. But yeah, someone needs to do it based on, like I said, what we were talking accounting earlier.
I think it's going to be us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's for every scenario that a charge item is in, right? Not just dropship.
Correct. So charge items versus service items. Service items don't need to be applied. Charge items do.
Okay.
So in this case, so let's talk. I mean, we talked about kind of the difference between a service item and a charge item, and it looks like Kimmy did it in this, which is great. Ultimately, on the sales order side, it doesn't matter. And here's the reason why. It's not, well, it doesn't really affect margin. It does on the item level, but not on the order level. Because ultimately, the customer, you're just billing the total amount of those lines. If it's just a service item where you just charge them the $50, they don't really care if it gets applied to the individual inventory as well. And from an accounting side, that's the only reason you would do it is if you wanted that to be applied to the profitability of that item. If it doesn't, if you're calculating it based on orders, then it doesn't matter either because that is your total amount divided by your cost. So the only reason it would affect anything would be probably, the only thing I can think of would be on the commission side. So on the sales side, I would suggest using a service item rather than a charge item, so you don't have to apply it. You can also add that service item into your CIJ and it'll get created automatically. And we don't have to worry about applying it at any point in the process. We just charge the customer the $50. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to me at least. I think we only use charge items on the PO side when it's BAS.
Yeah. Everything else, just put a service item in and just charge your customer for it. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
I'll stay on to talk with you and Caitlin about next week.
next week. Yeah.
The rest of you are excused.
You are welcome to go.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Right?
Thanks, you guys. Or if you'd like to stay.
Come and hang out.
Okay, so next week, Matt, you're coming out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, it'll be half day Thursday. I'll have to leave around, I think it's like 11 or 11:30.
Okay. Do you have any update on the licenses for everyone else?
We should have, let me look.
So the back end question is, let's say hypothetically, there's like 25 magical new licenses. Do those 25 people have SmartSource email IDs yet?
Not yet. I don't know when we're
Yeah.
getting that.
That'll
That's
be the
what it's
first.
waiting for.
That'll be the blocker, right? Because even if we had licensing, there's two parts of licensing that Mark and team have to agree and pay for, A and B. But even if A and B is delivered, we still can't assign one of those licenses until Caitlin.Doyle@smartsource.llc is made. I think you already have one, but just.
Yeah, but
you know what I
I
mean.
get what you're saying. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think we have like upwards of 40 people who we want to get licenses to, right? And
And ideally before we start training.
Right. Has
So-
that been sent to, I forget who the third-party IT folks that SmartSource uses.
I've provided it to Mark and Blake, so they should have it. Mark, I think, said he requested 50 licenses, so,
And that's what I think we got ordered was the 50 licenses. I think it's just getting them assigned to SmartSource email addresses.
okay, I'll check in with Mark on that to see what the status is.
I can check real quick and see if it's been done. See if there's new users from Microsoft.
The keys we have for Microsoft are kind of good, but kind of not good. We can see a lot of things, but we can't make any changes. So if you give me the name of somebody who's supposed to be on, like I don't know if Lima's on the call, but I don't know if Lima's ever been. She was never on the first 5 people who logged in.
Lima
So-
is, Tracy is not on here. Tracy
Tracy's not?
Butler. Yeah.
So if I log into SmartSource, so you do what are you doing? I'm just looking to log into SmartSource and see if Tracy's ever been added.
There's 2 users that have licenses on Microsoft, so I'll add those in. Chris Landauer and Desiree.
You're just refreshing, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm doing the
The other side. Yeah.
Yeah. I have no authority. And as your partner, unfortunately we cannot get a key that does that. Microsoft doesn't like that. But that said, I can see Tracy's name. Let's see. So it's part of what I call the housekeeping, right? It's the housekeeping of going to the cloud. So this is the lovely stuff.
A few years ago, we used to be able to add your licenses for you and just bill you, but Microsoft changed that.
Caitlin would have been, you get a login, you get a login, you get a login. Everybody
It was
gets a
so much
login.
easier.
Yeah, life was much easier sometimes.
I don't anticipate that being I mean, I know that licenses have been